Quick intro on the LEAD Athens program, as you have kind of heard a little bit from here already. LEAD Athens is really the flagship leadership program of the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce. We're in the middle of completing our strategic plan at the moment, and across all the stakeholder interviews, across all the board interviews, this was really identified as something that a lot of people see huge value in at the chamber. And so we're so excited to be able to kind of continue this program moving forward, promoting it. This incoming class, the class of 2027, is going to be the 44th class to complete the LEAD Athens program. It has been going since 1982, which is unfathomable and great, but here we are. A lot of this has been going with the J.W. Fanning Institute at the University of Georgia. They've had a huge role in setting up a lot of the other leadership programs among other counties across the state. So it's great to have them right here in our own backyard. They do a lot of the facilitation, the professional development, and the support kind of this program throughout the year. So looking at this class coming in, we will be expecting about 36 people. We typically get about double that in applications. It really is a very intensive process that we go through as a steering committee to kind of look at who's coming in, scoring everybody. It can be within a couple points of each other. Every application is fantastic. It is heartbreaking to have to say no to about half of them that come in, but I think that's also just a testament to the number of wonderful leaders that we have here in this community. So never a bad thing from there. Other than that, this is an intensive year-long leadership development program. It does run about 10 months out of the year. We go through about 11 or 12 sessions in that. We double up on a couple months, but really what you would be expecting is kind of a monthly session alongside some small group meetings. You do get sorted into some cohorts for more small group mentorship opportunities. There is kind of a service learning piece to this as well. You'll do some projects, you'll do some community service, you'll attend meetings of the school board and the mayor and commission, and really just kind of getting to know more about the community at large. So it's a great opportunity too to kind of learn more about Athens through the course of this. Now, what are these actual sessions that we talk about? In your typical regular monthly sessions, we're looking at topics like healthcare, local governments, arts and culture, 0 to 18 education. We look at the nonprofit sector. We look at small businesses and economic development here in Athens, and then higher education. So those are kind of your core 7 from there. The other sessions that make up this year are the orientation, which will be in June this year. I think we're looking at June 11th for that orientation kickoff. We do have a 3-day retreat here in Athens, typically at the Georgia Center. It's a really good time to really get to know the class well. It's an intensive look at some of the leadership development pieces. We have Fanning come in and facilitate some work there. It's a good kickoff to the year. Let's see, something that we introduced this year was our mid-year review session. So around December or January, we kind of like to take a look back at the year as a whole, bring some data in, really look at what are we doing, where have we been, and where are we going from there. Always a big plus for this class. I think if you've talked to anybody who's gone through it, they will talk about the Savannah session. We like to take a trip down to Savannah, Georgia to get a wider look at economic development in a statewide level. It's a ton of fun, but you also see some really cool behind the scenes things, and we are super excited about some of the planning that we've got going into it this year. It's going to be a ton of fun. And then lastly is the graduation, and we typically will have a reception for that at the end of the year as well. So I've gone through a lot so far. I will open it up if anybody had any questions. Throwing a lot at you here, but anybody want to come off mute, ask a question, you are 100% good to go. Or put it in the chat. Marissa's taking a look at that too. Okay, great. I'm going to keep on rolling. So looking at some key dates for the year, we have already set some of these session dates. They are in the application. You should be aware of those already. And looking at some of those key dates as far as the applications go, the application process is going to be open until April 22nd. So that should give you about 2.5 more weeks or so to keep going on those applications, making sure you're getting your letters of recommendation, all that good stuff. From there, we will sort everything, score it, take a look at everything you've submitted, and get application decisions back out to you around the May 14th mark to let you know whether you've been admitted to this class or deferred for next year. And then after that, once you were admitted, we have the tuition deadline coming up in the 29th of May. That's the less fun stuff coming up, but focusing in on where we're going from here. Those are the sessions. I think Josh and Kimberly can talk a little bit more about the actual attendance policy, some more of that stuff. I know several of y'all have had questions about some standing dates already, but that is just kind of the general overview of what to be expecting from a date and timeline perspective. And with that, I can turn it over to Kimberly and Josh, and then I can kind of just go back to not sharing my screen so you guys can see them when they talk to you. So that is the super high level overview.
Really kind of you to leave the mean attendance things for Kimberly and I to have to talk about. So
seemed like
you
a
make
good
us
time,
the bad guy. You're like Meredith is the perennial good human, and Kimberly and I will be the hammer for everything. So
and I like to establish that relationship early. So get ready for that. It'll be good. Over to y'all. Whoever wants to kick off first here.
You want me to go first? You want to go first? I mean, he wants me to go first. Yes. Well, while we're at it, I'll be happy to go ahead and address the attendance. I think the best approach to think about attendance is that you will not want to miss a session. You will feel like you're missing out if you're not able to be there. It's so intentionally planned. You will learn so much, and then you will also find that you would miss your classmates if you don't. You get so used to seeing them and spending time with them, and it really kind of richens those friendships as well as conversations. So you will not want to miss. However, life happens. And so right now it stands that you have one opportunity to miss. So if you have a standing meeting or a standing engagement, whether it's a wedding or something with work, maybe it's a large fundraiser. But after that, you'll have to reapply for the program. So it is uber strict because of it needs to be. And as I mentioned, you won't want to miss. So I think that's the best approach, in my opinion, when we think about attendance. You want to be able to be there and be active. Josh, would you have anything to add to that?
I think you nailed it. And I would say just as you're looking across, and I'll talk about the application in a little bit, but looking across that expectation of not just the sessions and full participation in those, but there is a small group and some other outside responsibilities that are added into that. If you don't feel like you can fully participate in those things, I would strongly encourage you to consider applying in another. It's not a bad thing. It's just knowing your capacity to give. And the more I think what folks have really realized that they can show up and participate fully in the program, the more they get out of it from the relationships with peers and the knowledge and things. So it's not a bad thing. It's just you got to do this when the time is right for you, and being able to fully commit to it.
Any questions around attendance? Okay. Meredith, I think you wanted me to hit on what I'm most excited about this upcoming year, and then we can pass off to Josh for application. So what I'm most excited about, in full honesty, is getting to know you all. It's exciting to watch you all make connections with one another, but there's always really fruitful conversations that happen within each class, and they ask really great questions. So although we kind of keep the standard topics and themes throughout the year, whether higher education or healthcare or K through 12, you all really kind of bring to light, and we learn from as a steering committee member as well of what people are asking. So I'm most excited about meeting you all and getting to know you and kind of your role in this community. I would say this at orientation, but one thing that's unique about LEAD Athens is that it's not a leadership class in learning how to be a leader. You're in the leadership class because you are already a leader. And then where would you like to best plug in and be able to use your gifts, your talents, and your expertise to better enrich our community? And that's also exciting to see. I just was talking with a class member from this current class, and they're trying to figure out how frequently they're going to continue to meet as a class, because that's how strong their bonds are, and then what they're really going to do with everything that they've learned. And so there's kind of that's not an expectation, but that has just organically evolved, and that's exciting to see. I'm excited to see what this year's class is going to do as well. I'll pass it off to you, Josh.
Sure. Well, how many of you have already taken a moment to look at the application? We opened it up, checked it out. Raising hands. Good. Okay. All right. Good. Well, good. Yeah, I think thinking about how you're going to intentionally sort of present information about yourself, this is the sort of thing that you do want to take some time and consider it. And I do think taking some time and just reading through sort of just the date commitments and the participation expectations, similar to what Kimberly said around attendance, also in the day-to-day engagement with the program. We really view this as an opportunity for you to put your phone down and to fully participate in the day. We get a lot of wonderful humans that give up their time, so we like to be respectful of that, but also just for you to deeply engage in the information. And so part of the acceptance process in this is a supervisor sign off. We like to make sure that you have the full support from your team, your colleagues, and that you have enough lead time right now. You can look out and you can say, oh, we've got a big presentation on this day. It's like, well, this is an opportunity for you as a leader to find the right people around your organization to represent a program so that it creates the space for you to be able to be present fully. So, and like Kimberly said, we know that emergencies and things pop up. We're aware of that, but we do really seek folks that can fully participate in the day-to-day. I'm going to scroll through this really quick as we go down. And by all means, if you have questions, please shout. I also want to respond to what Meredith said about the volume of applications. We are grateful to have so many interested individuals year to year. And so I will say, just don't be discouraged if for some reason you aren't selected for this year's cohort. There are numerous individuals that have to apply for multiple years in order to be selected for the program. We're looking at a wide variety of things. We're trying to balance different career pathways here in our community, thinking about the overall makeup of the class. And that is a variety of factors. We have a rubric for when we look through the evaluation and the responses to the questions and the community engagements that you have. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, I would say. And so I just want to throw that out there because I've applied for things, and if you don't get selected that first time, it can be a little bit disheartening, but I do want to say that that's not any reflection on your capacity as a leader. It's just a matter of the high interest in the program and to not be dissuaded by that. So, and I don't know if Meredith or Kimberly, if you want to say anything to that. It's the hardest thing we do.
No, I think you said it very well. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Not if, but when.
Yeah, I think so. So, the first half of this really is just some demographic information, some logistics information that we're just trying to capture. Like I said, some of the things that are balance of new individuals in Athens versus those that have had a long tenure. If you have applied before, what sector of the community you're coming from, those things are really important. I know that you are all wonderfully engaged individuals to think about how you want to put forward your levels of community engagement. Are you representing a breadth of things? Again, there is a rubric. We're looking at, sort of the depth and breadth of things. So I would encourage you to select different engagement opportunities that show, whether it's leadership in some capacities and long-term engagement in others. But really put some thought into those. And that's probably, if we back up and we think about this application in general, I want you to put the time and energy into it and not just answer with a brief answer, but think critically and intentionally about how you want to respond. A response that says, just list, for example, what do you feel are the 3 most significant problems facing Athens and why is a great example. Is we will get individuals that will list 3 things that are very apparent, and so housing is always one. We're not cheating here. I can say housing is a critical issue facing our community, but they really leave out the why. And I think that is the more important component of the question. We'll do some digging into what it means when you say housing versus what somebody else means when they say housing. And that is part of the nuance of, again, how we select the cohort and where we're thinking about what lane you're showing up in that interest area. So I think you get about 250 words, am I right, Meredith, per question. Wordsmith those. Use your own words. I work with a bunch of students at the university, so I know when you drop this bad boy in AI, it's great to clean up things, to edit things. But what I'll say is there's a repetitiveness that starts to show up when you run an application process. Like if somebody just pops these in and puts them in, you start to see some patterns as the folks reviewing these. So I'll just encourage you to use AI. We're always talking about what role AI has in the future in our community, but think about how this reflects what your views are and your thoughts on challenges facing Athens, or where your sort of skill sets bring in those responsibilities. So use all the space you have, and then really put some thought into what you're putting forward there. And that those questions are the heart of the application. Your community engagement, the questions. We'll review your resume and the breadth of your experiences, but the biggest disservice you can do to yourself is to put a super brief, not well developed answer forward in one of those spaces. You have the ability to have a reference. That reference can be anybody from your background. If you know somebody who has been through LEAD Athens that could speak on your behalf, I do think that that's beneficial, but it doesn't have to. That's not a limiting factor. But they'll know your ability and how you'll show up in that space. We have space for those that are interested in pursuing a scholarship. There's a couple of additional questions. We get every year high level of scholarship requests. Our alumni association works hard to raise funds to support that. We only offer up to a 50% scholarship. We balance between 25 and 50%, and there's a limited number of those that we can offer. And I don't know, Meredith, if you want to say anything on behalf of the chamber side with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can offer a little bit of context on that. So, we've really had some really intentional conversations lately about the cost of tuition, the rate at which that needs to increase. We're trying to not pass on that cost to y'all as participants. And I think some of that is the alumni piece. So once you graduate the program, you become an alumni of the LEAD Athens, and you have the opportunity to donate back to that program through your dues, through other events, to kind of help support the program for folks moving forward. So it's one of those that the chamber works really hard to keep that alumni association strong, to keep that fundraising arm strong, and to try to keep costs at a reasonable level for y'all as participants. So I'm happy to have a conversation with y'all later about any payment plan options, any tuition questions, all that good stuff. But that is kind of where we're at with it at the moment.
I saw the question in the chat about a copy of the application. We may be able to put that out there in a PDF. I would encourage, if possible, for your reference to be from the Athens area community. Not being from Athens is not, or living in Athens is not a limiting factor. We do try to balance, if your work is in this space, we're cognizant of that as well. Again, that's part of that balance of what makes up a strong and solid class.
And I'll add really quick too, on the letter of recommendation, it cannot be somebody who's on the current steering committee or a member of the chamber staff. I know we've had some questions about that in the past. I think just to kind of keep it fair and objective for everyone, it needs to be someone outside of steering committee and chamber.
Yeah. If you have a supervisor, I mean, if you own your own business, that obviously is one thing. If you are the chair of the executive director of a nonprofit, having the sign off from your board chair, others, so that there's some indication of support and commitment. I think that's really essential. Like we said, when you're here and you're unable to be present, or your responsibilities pull you away, it doesn't just, I mean, it impacts you, obviously, but it impacts the overall cohort of individuals going through the experience because you're depriving them of a question that you may ask or a perspective that you may share. And so making sure that not just you're bought into the participation, but that your supervisor and or board chair understands that that's a commitment and a responsibility. So that's probably more than enough to chat about the application, but I would strongly encourage you to put solid thought into it and time, and know that we all review them with a lot of intentionality. I missed the question, so I don't know if let me grab the.
Yeah. So can you save the application progress and come back to it, or do you have to complete that in one sitting?
What I would encourage you to do would be to make a Word document alongside and type your answers into that Word document. We sort of piecemeal with the technology. There's limiting factors in technologies, and technologies that allow you to save your work along the way are significantly more expensive. So this is one of the ways that we keep program costs down, is by using more of a smart form. So I'd encourage you to have a Word document that you're saving work in along the way. Other questions about the application?
Yeah, let's go ahead and open it up. Y'all feel free to come off mute, put it in the chat, whatever works for you.
Like you
I
have
don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you guys for speaking on this opportunity and giving us a lot of insight on it.
Thank you, Brittany.
Absolutely.
I have a quick question about county status. So I don't actually live in Clark County. Is that a concern or okay?
I think we are balancing residents of Athens, Clark County with, and one of the things you'll learn about this Small Business and Economic Development Day is, the regional nature of Athens. And so we totally understand that there are individuals whose work brings them to Athens and that they can meaningfully contribute to this, as well as those that are residents of Athens. And we hear you, Jolene. So we'll work on that.